Is Hank back on the phone line? You can do it again.
I have to. It's protocol.
Are you there, Hank? You there?
I am.
Hey! How you feeling, brother?
I heard you talking about ranking hotels,
Yes.
and as Philip Marlowe said, there is a combination of hotels between a flea bag and a dive.
And that is? Do we know?
That's how he describes a hotel in transition.
Okay, very good. How's everything in Vegas? We see videos it's like nothing ever happened there. Is that true?
Well,
What's going on
they're
there?
slowly coming back.
Okay.
But restaurants are open, and the hotels are gradually I'm going over to my favorite place today to register, so that I don't have to go over there and sit there. I can just play at home.
Okay.
Because I'm being very careful.
You should. You have to be.
I wear my mask to pick up the mail.
Okay.
So,
yeah,
you got in my situation, I have to be.
Damn straight, Hank.
But I'm working. I'm doing CBS Sports Line, and I'm doing ESPN this week.
Fantastic.
And so I'm staying busy.
And I appreciate you doing this show as always. I give you the floor, Hank, about the Belmont Stakes. It's going to be obviously shorter than usual. No fans, but other than that, we got ourselves a Triple Crown leg. Usually it's the first this year. What do you have for me on this front?
Well, I talked to a couple of trainers who said that there'll be an asterisk next to this Triple Crown. It's not a normal one, like you said, but 'tis the law is the horse. This is a horse who won the Florida Derby. He won the big 2-year-old race last year, the Futurity, and he stands out. This is the Saratoga group who had Funny Side, and they're back together again. Barclay Tagg, the trainer. This is a quality horse, and he's several cuts above the rest of the field. Problem is, if you bet on him, you're probably going to get 3 to 5. You're not going to make a lot of money.
Right. So, how do we make a lot of money here, then, Hank? What do you got for me?
I don't know. I'm at a loss. There's a couple of horses that I'm interested in.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is Modernist. They weren't sure if they were going to run him in this race or if they were going to hold him off until one of the later derbies, maybe Indiana. But Belmont worked him out the other day. He had a terrific work, and so he's going to go, and he's a speed horse. And you never know with Mott how good this horse is going to be. He's going to probably go early or at least be close up early. And the question is, he benefits from the shorter distance. So we'll see how far he can go.
Right.
He's one.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another horse called Pneumatic.
Yep.
Who is lightly raced. He hasn't had a lot of stakes races, but he ran third in the Matt Win, which was a big race at Churchill Downs. And Asmussen trains him. When you say Asmussen, you got to take a look. And so I don't know how good this horse is going to be.
Okay.
Those are the two horses that I'm looking at with some kind of a chance. And so I'll play them. Of course, I'm going to be in action.
That's why we call you, Hank. So what is the before we get to the money talk? What is the challenge that you're hearing from your people that you speak to about this reconfigured COVID-19 Triple Crown leg order now? I mean, where things are all out of whack. What are you hearing about this?
I talked to Dale Romans a lot. Dale said whatever they do in this Triple Crown, there's going to be an asterisk there. It's not a normal Triple Crown. And so it's whatever anybody says, it's not the same. You're running the Belmont, which normally is the last race, at not the normal distance. And it's a couple of months out from the Kentucky Derby, which is not until Labor Day, or Labor Day weekend. So, here's another factor. The Travers is going to be a week before the Kentucky Derby. So you may not have all the quality horses running in the Kentucky Derby. It's all out of whack.
But in terms of getting the horse ready, there's what challenge you got on that front?
Well, here's the deal. You got Maxiel, for example, who is not going to run now. But, there are horses who are going to train up to the Haskell and use the Haskell as the prep for the Derby. And that's the race at Monmouth this summer. So, and then there's the Travers situation where trainers are going to have a choice. Do they want to run the Kentucky Derby or they want to run the Travers? There's the big race at Del Mar this summer, which will also be a prep. So they're going to have to choose the route that they're going to go to the Derby this year rather than take the normal, let's do the Santa Anita Derby on such a day, such a date. Let's do the Bluegrass on such a date. There are horses who are passing the Belmont to run in the Bluegrass in next month because they like that period of time better and prepping the Derby.
All right, Hank, let's get to the money talk now then. So obviously, it's what you got to do, right? I mean, what are you going to do? Certainly, when you're expecting the horse to sit on top to be making you, a mere bag of shells. What do you got for me on this front?
Well, I've got Pneumatic and I've got Modernist. Those are the two horses I like underneath. Maybe Dr. Post. So I'll take those horses and box them in exactas and the only hope to make money is that Tiz the Law stumbles out of the gate, and you don't have a mile and a half to make up the ground.
Okay.
But other than if Tiz the Law runs his race, it's over.
Okay, so you're just rolling the dice by exacta, boxing the 4 and the 10 and the 9, the 9 and the 4, and just see what you got. That's basically what you're saying.
Yeah, and something, Belmont would not be running if a lot of this is points towards the Derby, but it's also if you run second in the Belmont, it means something for breeding. But if something happens and you win this race, it's a big deal.
All right. Hey, before I let you go, Hank, earlier in the first hour, we're just talking about me being a Jet fan for so many years and decades, and just talking about the AFC Championship game where A.J. Dewey picked off Richard Todd and made me a miserable human being for a very, very long time. Did your friend, may he rest in peace, Don Shula, purposely leave that tarp off the field because he knew the Jets running game with Freeman McNeil was coming in and just let it rain on the Orange Bowl? Did he do that on purpose?
Well, that's what the Jets fans think.
Yeah. So that did not happen? That did not happen?
I don't think so. Walt Michaels thinks it happened.
The Jet coach at the time. Oh, yeah. I know that.
I knew Walt very well. When I worked with Jimmy the Greek and we were getting ready for the NFL Today, every Friday night we had dinner with Walt Michaels at Dewey Wong's, a great Chinese restaurant in New York.
Yeah.
And Walt helped Jimmy with his predictions. He was a great guy, Walt. I liked him a lot.
So, wait, the Jets coach was helping Jimmy the Greek make predictions based on overs and unders and things of that nature, based on, minus and pluses? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, he was. They were old friends.
Amazing. Oh, my gosh. So what did happen on that day? Where did A.J. Dewey come from, Hank? What the hell?
Well, A.J. Dewey was a heck of a player. But, Coach Shula, remember A.J. Dewey was a guy who started out as a lineman who they moved into the linebacker spot, and the Jets couldn't handle it.
What was it like back in those days, Hank, as, because now, now there's a million pregame shows, but you were there from the ground up, right, for the NFL Today? And
yes.
Phyllis George, may she rest in peace, just passed away as well.
Yes.
What was it like doing a show like that then?
Well, it was an interesting show to do because, Brent Musburger had to be one of the best hosts of all time when you consider his cast. You know, he didn't really have a professional football analyst on the show. You know, Jimmy was a handicapper, and Phyllis was a great personality. Irv Cross was okay, but there wasn't any, you know, Phil Simms on that show. So, you know, and Brent carried the show.
Right.
And he had to do half a dozen shows a day. It was amazing. He was amazing.
Well, he still is, Hank, and so are you. And then were you there when he and Jimmy threw down?
I was, and I got to tell you something.
Yes.
I really was. You know, if you talk to people today, they would have had to have had that skirmish at Yankee Stadium if everybody who says they were there.
Right.
I can name the people who were in the place at the time.
Walk me through it.
I was there. Mike Pearl was there.
Yep.
Who was the producer of the NFL Today. Todd Musburger, Brent's brother.
An agent?
Yeah. Also, there was Kevin O'Malley, who worked for CBS at the time, and a reporter for the Washington Post, who Kevin begged him not to do the story, but he did. And that was about it. My sister was there, too. And it was, you know, a lot of us used to go to dinner at that restaurant after the games were over.
So what?
And I'll never forget.
Yes.
When Jimmy came into the place and he was outraged because that day Brent had stepped on his story because he had done a story about who the coach at Notre Dame was going to be, and it was Jerry Faust. And so when instead of giving a lead in, Brent said, "So what's this we hear about Jerry Faust being the coach at Notre Dame?" And Jimmy did one of those hama because, you know, he stepped all over his story.
Right.
So Jimmy had all day to steam, and he came into the restaurant, Pear Trees. He walked over to Brent. He said, "Brent, you killed me today." Brent said, "I can kill you anytime I want to on that show." And Jimmy leaned over and slapped him. And Todd Musburger, Brent got out of his chair, and Todd Musburger yelled at Jimmy as Jimmy backed up towards the bar like he was going to grab a bottle. I'll never forget Todd yelling, "Go ahead, Jimmy. Do it like you used to do it when you were a gangster."
Are you
serious? Unbelievable.
Hey, wow. Are you serious? That was the retort?
That was Todd's retort.
Yeah. Oh.
And Frank Ross, who we used to call Skylab because he once showed up at the Masters with a life sentence in his briefcase. Anyway, Skylab grabbed Jimmy, and he and I took Jimmy out and got him a taxi and got him out of there. And that's how it ended.
And so what was it like on the set the next time, Hank? What in the world was it like when they finally got back together?
Well, they shook hands.
Right.
And, I don't think Brent ever got over it, really. And, he was astounded. I mean, I stayed in the restaurant, and I'll never forget Brent said to me, "Do you believe he did that?" And I was no longer working for Jimmy. I was there for that weekend because the Dolphins were playing there.
Right.
And I had my own issues with Jimmy, and I won't tell you what I said to him. But anyway, Brent was absolutely in shock that Jimmy would come after him that way.
So what was a bigger disaster, their relationship or Jerry Faust at Notre Dame?
Great question. You'll have to ask Jimmy Johnson, who did a worse job on Jerry Faust.
Wow.
Faust.
Hank, you take care of yourself, man. I love your stories. Your stories are the all-time greats. And
I'll tell you, I really was there.
No, clearly.
and please give my best to Susie.
Always. She always loves when you're on the show, knows that you're on. And if we don't talk, your birthday's July 4th, correct? Coming up?
Big number 80.
The big 80. Hank, you are the
God
best.
Bless you,
God
Hank.
bless you is exactly right.
You know, I'll tell you what Shula said that the last birthday bash I was at for him at Gulfstream Park at lunch,
Uh-huh.
when he when he turned 88. I asked him what he'd like for his birthday. He said, "I want to be 89."
Well, you know what? You're a legend yourself, Hank. Love you, truly do, and I love when you're on.
The best, Rich.
Right back at you, always. Love you, and hopefully we'll chat very soon and get you on before another big race.
I guess the next Triple Crown race will be the Derby.
That's right. We'll get you on before that, as always.
Labor Day.
Well,
Labor Day weekend.
In the meantime, have a great birthday, Hank. You take care of yourself.
Thank you so much, Rich.
You
Great
got
to
it.
talk with you.
Same with you. Hank Goldberg.
Yeah, Hank. That was awesome.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.